You're a mean one.
The Grinch 2018 is a movie. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. It's not good, but it's not that bad. It's exactly the kind of middle-of-the-road film that you'd expect from Illumination at this point. The Grinch 2018 is a movie. That's all for this video, guys. Like and subscribe. Okay, so it's July, it's summertime, it's hot as balls outside right now, so it only makes sense to talk about a Christmas movie right now. That, for some reason, people like to associate Christmas with July. Yeah, can somebody explain that for me? Now, I wasn't entirely against the idea of a new Grinch film because, well, the Grinch is just one of those timeless characters who you can enjoy no matter how old you are. But with that being said, I'm not gonna lie, when I heard that it was Illumination making this movie, I immediately lowered my expectations. But when your nephew and niece pretty much beg you to go to the movies with them to go and see, in their own words, the green one, I decided to ignore the 59% on Rotten Tomatoes and went and saw it with them. And did they enjoy it? Well, yeah, because they're kids. Little kids. While I, a 24-year-old adult, didn't. I understand that this movie wasn't made for me. I understand that it wasn't made for adults in mind. I get that. But even if this film was made for younger audiences in mind, I should still be able to at least appreciate it for what it is. But I'm sorry, I just can't do that with this film. While this movie may be inoffensive in itself, it still fails at the one thing it needed to do. Be a good Grinch movie. This movie understands the Grinch about as much as I understand Dragon Ball GT. If you've read the original book, seen the animated short, or hell, even watched the live-action one with Jim Carrey, then you'd see right away that this is not the Grinch you know.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
So the plot of this film is pretty similar to that of the animated short. All the Who's down in Whoville love Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lives just north of Whoville, did not. Because he's practically an emo kid now. Yeah, another one. Now, when you think of the Grinch, what are the words that come to your mind? Take a look at this picture of the Grinch and tell me what you think. Do you think gross? How about smelly? What about mean? Or rude, or crude, or filthy? Well, you're wrong. You think of the word Grinch. That's how symbolic this character has become over the years. His name can be used to describe filthy, grouchy people. I mean, sure, don't get me wrong, you can still use all those other words, but still, Grinch is the best one. He's instantly recognizable, and a lot of that comes down from his design. Not only is he solid green, but he has that wrinkly grin and that big gut and his pepper-looking shoes. I don't know. But the point is, you know him the second you see him. He's just that memorable and recognizable. Now take a look at the Jim Carrey version. The Jim Carrey version actually did a very good job at capturing the essence of the Grinch. Just look at this fucking loser. Eating glass, burping in people's faces, just all around being a straight-up jackass. Now, granted, he might have been dialed up a bit too much for that film, but he still looked like the Grinch, and he acted like the Grinch. It's exactly what you'd expect if you saw a live-action Grinch. Even if the movie overall was actually pretty bad. Oh, come on! Take off the nostalgia glasses for 2 seconds, and you'll realize it's not a good film. It's ugly to look at, it's mean-spirited, and at times, it's even too inappropriate for its audience. Yeah, it's bad. Now we take a look at the new Grinch. And right away, he is way too clean. Just take a look at this Grinch. This guy is taking showers, he's using hairbrushes to keep himself all nice and tidy. Even his teeth are all white and pearly. Why are his teeth all white and pearly? Didn't you people even listen to the song?
You have termites in your smile.
There are no termites living in that smile. Termites wouldn't touch that smile with a 39.5-foot pole. And then there's his evil smile. Look at it. Doesn't it look a little too, I don't know, perfect? Look at the original's grin. Now look at the Jim Carrey's grin. Look at all the wrinkles and how sinister they both look. The new Grinch's smile? It's fine, I guess. why does everything about this Grinch look so clean? He's a hermit living in the mountainside, away from the people. Sure, he goes into town every once in a while, but the Jim Carrey version did that too, and he looks great. Why doesn't this one look great? With this Grinch being animated, there shouldn't be anything holding him back from looking menacing. The original animated one looked menacing, so why doesn't this one? And when I say menacing, I mean menacing for Dr. Seuss. But design is one thing, his personality is another. And when the movie begins, he's actually pretty good. He's mean, he's antisocial, he kind of messes with people a bit. It's exactly what you would expect from the Grinch. For the first 10 minutes anyway. After that, though, he suddenly goes through this change. Sure, he still hates Christmas and loathes the idea of it all, but he plays it off less like a grouch who hates the whole Christmas season and sees it more as a whiny emo kid who's upset because apparently as a kid he never got adopted from the orphanage, and as a result he blames Christmas for some inexplicable reason. Like, really? That's the reason he hates Christmas? That doesn't make any sense. First of all, why does the Grinch even need a backstory? The original book already gives us a perfectly good reason.
But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small.
Basically, he's a dick, and he believes that if he can't enjoy Christmas, then no one can enjoy Christmas. The Grinch sees Christmas as a gimmick. He thinks that all of it is about the toys, and the noise, and the food, and all that material junk. Remember when the Grinch was ranting in the beginning of the original short? Never once does he talk about the actual meaning of Christmas. He doesn't talk about family, he doesn't talk about friendship, or the thought of giving onto others. It's all the material stuff that he hates, and he believes that's all Christmas is about. Which is why when the book ends, after stealing everything and seeing everyone still celebrating Christmas, he's confused at first, but then after thinking about it, he realizes that, yeah, he's been wrong this whole time.
Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
But then you have the Jim Carrey version, which also felt the need to give him a backstory. But in the live-action film, the Grinch is absolutely correct.
I want golf clubs, I want diamonds, I want a pony so I can ride it twice, get bored, and sell it to make glue!
The Who's were obsessed with all of the presents, and the lights, and the food, and basically, yeah, they did turn Christmas into a gimmick. You had contests about who had the best lights, you had an annual gift-giving ceremony where everyone would just line up so they could all get a gift. They would even blatantly say out loud that it's about the presents. So the Grinch is actually 100% correct in that movie, and is even justified when in the middle of the movie, he calls the Who's out on that. That honestly kind of muddles the message up a bit, because in the original book and short, the Grinch was completely wrong about Christmas. He didn't fully understand it, and since he lived so far away from the Who's that he never really got to see Christmas up that close, it kind of makes sense for him to draw that conclusion. The Jim Carrey version just kind of pulls the moral of the story out of his ass about the same time as everybody else did, which kind of makes the whole thing feel kind of shallow. But hey, give the Jim Carrey one credit, it at least stuck with the message that the book tried to teach, but this one, on the other hand, teaches us a completely different lesson. Yeah, I'm serious. I mean, don't get me wrong, the old message is still here, but it's pretty much been sidelined in this film. It's like, here's the moral of the film. Oh, and by the way, Christmas is nice too. So in this movie, the Grinch was raised in an orphanage, which we barely get to see at all, by the way, but was never adopted, so he left Whoville to go live in the mountain. And for 53 years, yeah, I can't believe he's that old either, he decided,
it is better this way.
So basically we find out that the Grinch doesn't hate Christmas necessarily, but instead he hates being alone and his sad past. That's the Lion King's message! What the heck? I mean, sure, it's not a bad message to teach kids, but it's not this movie's message. The Grinch's lesson is maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store, maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. Not moving on from your past, are you serious? The Grinch's lesson was very unique because that's what Dr. Seuss specialized in. He was always good at teaching kids very unique lessons that are indeed very important lessons to learn. From The Cat in the Hat, kids learn that rule breaking is fine as long as it doesn't go too far. From The Lorax, kids learn that they're responsible for their actions and need to be held accountable for them. From Horton Hears a Who, kids learn that everyone matters regardless of how small they are, so to speak. It wasn't just great lessons he taught, it was how he went about teaching them. With The Grinch, we all know somebody who's like the Grinch, right? Somebody who's a big grouch, somebody who sees Christmas as a big waste of time, and basically sees it as a big gimmick for corporations to exploit. Basically, the Grinch was meant to represent the anti-Kirk Cameron, who actually is about all that crap. The Grinch stood out to us not just because of his great design, but because we related him to people in our real lives. Just like the Cat in the Hat with laid-back rule breakers, the Lorax with wise parental figures, and Horton with wide-eyed innocent people. We related with Dr. Seuss stories and the characters in them, and as a result, the lessons stuck with us even more. You can tell me not to dive headfirst into asphalt, but until I figure out what would happen in the end, that's when I'd learn the lesson. The lesson this movie is trying to teach, while not a bad one, has been done by countless other films before it, and done way better. They even cut out the best line from the book in order to correlate with the new message.
Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
Yeah, that's not here. They don't even say that line. Instead, they push that message onto Cindy Lou Who. Yeah, she's the one who's gonna learn the lesson in this movie. So in this version, Cindy Lou Who is about 6 or 7 years old, and her subplot revolves around wanting to find and talk to Santa Claus. The reason for this is because her mother is overworked, and as a result, is always super exhausted and doesn't have much time for personal things, despite trying her hardest. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I actually like that idea. While I do like this Cindy Lou Who more than the one in the Jim Carrey version, as this one actually acts like a real kid, her story arc in this movie, however, just feels too simplistic and dry-boned. For starters, we never really get to see the mom at her job. We just keep getting told that her mom works all the time, she's always working, she's always super tired, and it's like, really? Come on guys, show, don't tell. And when the moment finally comes at the end where she does learn the lesson, the movie doesn't take the chance to quote the book. I'd be fine with the mom saying the quote, at least it would be in the movie then. But nope, she just says the lesson in the most simplistic, generic way possible.
He didn't steal Christmas, he just stole stuff. Christmas isn't here. And besides, I already have the greatest gift I could ever get. You.
Boring!
You're a mean one.
When it comes to adapting a movie from a book, I think it's important to try and get as much from the book as you can. Now, I understand that you can't get everything from the book in some cases, like the Harry Potter franchise or Lord of the Rings. Those books are huge, and it's practically impossible to try and get everything from one book into a 2-hour or 2.5-hour long movie. Hell, Deathly Hallows had to be split into 2 different movies, and it still wasn't enough to get everything from the book. But then you have the curious case of The Grinch 2018, which is based off of a very short book. I mean, come on guys, this is Dr. Seuss, not Stephen King, and yet the movie has the puzzling problem of not having enough from the book, which I find kinda odd. Even the original animated special had to create extra content to meet a 22-minute runtime, and now we have this 90-minute feature-length film that's missing stuff from the book. So I have to ask the question, why does this 90-minute film not have everything from this very short book? We've already established why some stuff was cut out in order to fit a new message, but I think it's kind of weird how the writers kind of cherry-pick certain parts of the book to keep in like certain rhymes from the book, or certain scenes that obviously had to be in the film. So it kind of frustrates me when I see glimpses of the book in this film, when the whole thing could have easily fit. If the 22-minute film can fit the entire book, while at the same time creating extra content on the side to fill in the runtime, why couldn't this movie? I know we need more stuff to fill in the runtime for this movie, but a lot of it just feels like pointless filler. The Jim Carrey film at least tried to use its filler content to further expand the characters and world building. It just came across as kind of mean-spirited and went against the message of the book as we discussed earlier. But this little subplot with Cindy Lou Who and her friends wanting to test out traps on Santa Claus, it's just kind of pointless and doesn't really have that much payoff to it. And then you have the fat-ass reindeer Fred that was all over the marketing of this film. And yet despite all of that, he's in the movie for a collective 8 or 9 minutes, I think. Now, I can't really say he's pointless, as near the end, he does warrant his existence in a genuinely nice scene, honestly, but it still boggles my mind that despite having all the time for that, there are still things from the book that they chose to cut out. Like at the end of the movie, when the Grinch is invited to Cindy Lou Who's house for dinner, he doesn't cut the roast beast in the end. What was the point of not having him cut the roast beast in the end? Like, he can have his toast, I don't care, but come on, he's gotta cut the damn roast beast! Oh god, I'm getting mad at this movie again. God, fuck, it's boring. Now, with everything I've said about this movie so far, you'd think that I absolutely hated it. Well, in small ways I do, yes, but the movie overall sticks to the Illumination formula pretty much to a T. It's safe, it's formulaic, it's predictable, it's watered down. As a movie overall, it's about as standard as a kid's movie can get. And while, yes, this movie could have tried a little harder to keep things from the book in here, and yes, turning the Grinch into an emo kid who doesn't really hate Christmas that much doesn't really make much sense to me, but overall, this movie is mostly harmless. It's not putting out any bad messages, there's no inappropriate content in here, it's pretty much a perfectly fine movie for kids, and it's totally G-rated despite what the MPAA says. Brief, rude humor? Seriously? One rude joke in the film is enough to warrant parental guidance? You pansy-ass bitches. Now, of course, there are redeeming qualities to this film that I do think make it worth at least one viewing. The best aspect of this film, of course, is the animation. This movie looks absolutely gorgeous. It's bright and colorful, it's brimming with life and detail, and the world of the Grinch looks straight out of the book. If there's anything that Illumination can do right with these Dr. Seuss films, it's that they can nail down the Dr. Seuss look perfectly. Even the god-awful Lorax film at least still looked like a Dr. Seuss book from start to finish. Now, if only Illumination can nail the spirit of Dr. Seuss and stop being giant hypocrites with his works, then we'd be in business. The acting is also pretty good in this film. Benedict Cumberbatch is pretty good as the Grinch, but at the same time, I don't know. Sometimes he sounds like Doctor Strange doing an impression of Hiccup Haddock.
Where's my personal reserve of moose juice? And goose juice? My emergency stash of hoo hash? And my secret slew of frozen hazelnut stew?
Then you have the actress who plays Cindy Lou Who in this film, who isn't really that bad, but...
No, just better. Me and Miss Wilbur made cookies. I gotta go mail something. But I made the beds and put away the twins' toys. I told you, to mail a letter.
Yeah, that's obviously a teenager trying really hard to hide the fact that she's already hit puberty. But again, she's not that bad. She still does an okay job of making the character sound cute, but not too cute, like Despicable Me cute, you know, obnoxiously cute. Everyone else in this movie does their job just fine. Nothing special, nothing terrible. It's exactly what you'd expect. There also is the fact that we do actually get to see the scene where the Grinch is invited to the dinner in Whoville in the end, and it's a genuinely nice scene that I like. I always wanted to see how that would play out, and it played out exactly how I thought it would, but in a good way. The relationship between the Grinch and Max is cute, and there are honestly a few good jokes here in the movie. Not that one! Overall, The Grinch 2018 is a mixed bag. It's not the worst, but it's far from the best. As Dr. Seuss movies go, I think it's the best so far, but that's not really that high of a bar to begin with. But when you compare it to the Jim Carrey one, yeah, this one's the better movie by a long shot. While the Jim Carrey movie has more of the book in it, this one both looked and felt more like the book. The Jim Carrey film had that mean-spirited tone and grimy color scheme that just really takes you out of it. The Grinch 2018 is bright, colorful, and at least tries to teach its lessons in a real, genuine way. It doesn't just pull the lesson out of its ass like the Jim Carrey one did. But with all that said, Grinch 2018 is mostly just an Illumination movie. That's all it is. It doesn't take any risk, it doesn't try anything that new, and the stuff that's not from the book is just bland, boring filler. It's exactly what you'd expect from Illumination at this point. But I've heard some people say that that isn't a bad thing, because hey, at least it isn't terrible, or insulting, or anything like that. If it's not hurting anybody, then why get that mad at it? I don't know. Maybe because that's all they do, every single time? Are their movies the worst? No. But would you go back and watch them again? Probably not, unless you're 10 or under. Illumination has found a safe, money-making formula that works for now, but people are beginning to catch on that you have to take a risk eventually when making films. There's a famous quote, "If it ain't broke, then don't fix it." But what do you do when things get old? Well, old things, they tend to break way easier than new things. Eventually, people are going to get tired of Illumination's formula. That's just how art and filmmaking is. People grow out of things, and the things that they liked when they were little kids, they'll look back upon as an adult and say, no, that was not good. Why did I even like that? It's just like me in the Jim Carrey version. Sure, I liked the Jim Carrey Grinch as a kid, but as an adult, I have to admit it, that movie sucks. That's just how it is for everyone. People aren't going to look back on the Grinch 2018 in 10 years with disgust or anger or hatred, mostly. Rather, they'll probably just look back on it with a blank mind, almost like they never saw it. And that's how it'll probably be for a lot of Illumination's films. Their movies may not be terrible, but they also don't try hard enough to leave an impact. Does anybody really remember The Secret Life of Pets the same way that they remember The Iron Giant? Or how about Sing as much as Kung Fu Panda? And don't even pretend you're gonna remember the Minions movie more than you'll remember How to Train Your Dragon. Because if you do say that, I will find you. I will find you, and I will fucking kill you. Me and Chewie both. While the Grinch may be an iconic character who has proven that he can stand the test of time, the Grinch 2018 movie, however, will simply be remembered as a movie. Nothing more, and nothing less. Hey everybody, it's RaisorBlade. I just want to give a special shout out to Levy Peabody, Cartoon Kid Kyle, and Jason Grasman for this amazing fan art that they all sent me over the last week. I really don't know what to say about this, guys. It's truly amazing. You guys are absolutely fantastic for saying this to me. I love it so much. Alright, Levy, I don't know what's going on here, but I still love it. It's absolutely fantastic. It made me laugh. Kyle, this is like my soul right now, reviewing the Norm of the North movies. This is exactly what I wanted to do. You captured my essence perfectly, buddy. And Jason, you keep it up, man. This is awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. So I just want to say that, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe for more great reviews and content. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. So stay awesome, guys. Rock on.